All right, guess what? We're off and running again. This is the New York Giants Squad Show. My name is Jay Berman. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network is this show, now the number one sports podcast network on the internet. 1 week down for John Harbaugh. Hopefully, many more weeks to come for the New York Giants boss.
I'm Patricia, trainer of Locked On Giants, and John Harbaugh knee deep in reshaping this franchise. Can't wait to see what's next.
Hi, Mark Collins, two-time Super Bowl champion. Phase one of the offseason has started, and that's with the coaching staff.
Let's go, Big Blue. It's the New York Giants squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, we are back alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. This is the New York Giants Squad Show as we talk everything New York Giants. And obviously, it's been a very interesting first week for John Harbaugh. Patricia in the leadoff spot. It feels like he's been here for a while, but again, it's only been a week.
Yeah, you know, time flies when you're having fun, right? And I don't know if John Harbaugh is having fun, you know, putting together a whole new coaching staff. I'm sure he'd rather be out scouting. You know, you've got the Shrine Bowl tonight. You've got the Senior Bowl week starting up. So I'm sure he'd rather be doing that. But first things first, got to get the coaching staff together. You got to put the program together, and then you got to be off and running so that when it comes time to really be rebuilding the roster, you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, Mark, obviously this is a first week under the belt. And as we said at the top, hopefully many more weeks to come. But again, it's an interesting transition, not only for the team, but for the fans, for everybody involved now that John Harbaugh is there.
Yeah, because you got to start anew. You know, you got to start over, basically. And a new staff, new coach. John's going to bring in some guys that he knows. We'll talk about that later. And that's how it is. And as for the fans, it's exciting, and you can be nervous at the same time because you don't know. But what you do know is what he brings to the table. Now, we have to wait and see what kind of coaching staff he's going to put together and the players he's going to bring along.
All right, so slowly, little bit by little bit, this staff is coming together. And obviously, this past week, the highlight was the defensive coordinator hiring of Denard Wilson. Patricia, your thoughts there?
I like the hire. I had Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans on the Locked On Giants podcast 2 shows ago. Tyler couldn't say enough good things about what to expect. We're talking aggressiveness. We're talking disguising coverages. We're talking a little bit more complexity, which raised a question actually for Mark, because somebody said, well, Mark's always preaching go simpler. What are going to be his thoughts now that, you know, Denard Wilson supposedly has all these complex looks and schemes that he throws, you know, out at the players? I think it's just a matter of, you know, now the players are going to have an opportunity to learn from the bottom up. I think this scheme will better fit the talent that they have, and they should be off and running and being able to fly to the ball and make plays.
Mark, your thoughts?
I don't know enough about him. What I don't know is this. There's a direct connection with him and John, so they know each other. That's just how, you know, it works in today's league. That defense finished 21st overall in the National Football League. So with that being said, some of those players, I don't know what the Giants finished. I don't know if they finished below that or not. I got to do a little more research. But knowing that and how they finished, how they looked, the Titans were 3-14. I went through that before in 1992. So I got more to say about that maybe later on this show or further down the road. But can he, with the changes of what the defense style he runs, yeah, will he have the players, and will John Harbaugh build a staff, a defensive staff and players that can accommodate what he wants to do? That's what it comes down to. If that happens and it works out, yeah, cool. What I saw in Tennessee, I wasn't impressed. But once again, when he with John Harbaugh, if John gives him the players to do some of the stuff he wants to implement, we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, there was no doubt that John Harbaugh was obviously going to hire guys with ties. Chris Horton, the special teams coordinator, another tie coming from Baltimore as well. So again, Wilson and Horton, and we obviously need to get an OC in here, but those connections to Harbaugh in no way are a surprise, Patricia.
No, I mean, you kind of expected it. Look, you know, this team's got to hit the ground running. And, you know, while I have had mixed feelings in the past about guys going with guys that they know, John Harbaugh had success in Baltimore with a lot of these folks that he's bringing up with him to the Giants. So, you know, this is a team, you know, John Harbaugh said at his presser that he expects the Giants to be in the postseason this time next year, which would mean, you know, they would be pushing for a Super Bowl bid. But of course, you know, this was like a couple weeks ago that he said it. So that being said, why not go with what you know and what has worked for you in the past?
Mark?
I have no problem with that. I really don't. I get it. That is, you know, the cronyism that we have in the league and in life. I get that. So if you want to hit the ground running, cool. Hire the people that you know, and they have success elsewhere. I got that too. My thing is, you know, looking at the Tennessee Titans defense and their record over our record, but with a new team coming with the Giants, and you know John knows you, and you can build on that brotherhood kind of deal, cool. I'm with that. Now comes, once again, the offensive side. I think Monken's coming. It makes sense if you get him. It just does. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, yeah, I honestly, and I know we asked a question last week, Jay, you asked a question, what are expectations of, you know, overall the records or whatever. I'm still basking in the glow that John Harbaugh's here. And so far, I'm kind of digging the staff that he's building. Cool with that so far. But I expect at least going to the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think that's especially if they can get close to doubling their win total, 4 to 8, maybe just a couple of more wins, get to 9 or 10, and then you're in the playoffs. But again, obviously, we are giving the benefit of the doubt here, Patricia, to John Harbaugh. He deserves to hire the staff. It's the reason he's here, because we trust him to hire the staff that will get the job done.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes ownership will suggest, and I use that suggest, assistant coaches to head coaches, particularly guys who are brand new to the position, or maybe, you know, don't have as wide of a reach as a John Harbaugh, who has done this for well over a decade. I like that they're sitting back. They're saying, okay, John, we trust you. Trust in Harbaugh. Or in Harbaugh, we trust, I should say. And, you know, you've done this before. You've got a winning pedigree. You haven't had very many losing seasons. And those losing seasons that you have had, you know, have been better than our, you know, losing seasons by far. So we're trusting you to make the right call, bring in the right people, distribute the responsibilities accordingly, and, you know, off and running.
Yeah, we got Harbaugh because we trust that he can build a staff. I mean, and I'm not suggesting there's a lot of negativity out there. There isn't. We all love John Harbaugh, and we're going to defend any pick he makes. But again, Harbaugh has earned the right to pick his staff any which way he chooses.
Oh, damn right. Absolutely. And once again, I'm not poo-pooing anything he's done so far. I like it because he's done it before, he's built before, and he's won before. So we, as, you know, analysts and fans, got to sit back and let the process go and believe in what he does. So far, I'm on board with everything he's doing. Now, and then we'll talk about this later on, maybe this show or next shows, is the, you know, phase 2 of the offseason, trying to get players in here that implement his style of play.
All right, so obviously the OC is important, the DC is important, STC, Special Teams Coordinator, also important, Patricia. Now, Chris Horton gets the job. He was originally blocked by Baltimore. Jesse Minter gets the job with the Ravens, and obviously the rest is history.
Yeah, you know, one other note I like so far about this this coaching staff, several of the guys in key positions, and Mark, we talked about this on the last show, they are former NFL players. Chris Horton is a former NFL player. I believe Denard Wilson at one point was a former NFL player.
Good player.
And there's something to be said about that. I firmly believe that when you bring in a coach who has played the game at the highest level, that being the NFL, that maybe there's a different perspective that you bring to the mix that didn't exist before. And you look, you asked about Chris Horton, Jay. This is a guy who has a very impressive record of accomplishment. His special teams in Baltimore, they've been up near or at the top of the league in several major statistical categories. So I'm totally on board with that. I'm thrilled that they got him.
Yeah, there was a chance they weren't going to, but now they did. And as we all know how important special teams are, Mark.
Yeah, and having a connectivity of a player who played before to a player who's playing now is huge, because that coach can tell you what he's done, what to expect, all the things that goes with that. And having a coach who's never played before but is a great teacher, he becomes a textbook coach. And I've played for one who's one of the best, who's never played, but his knowledge, he was an Einstein in football, and that's Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick, for some reason, he just knew how to teach, how to implement, and get people on the same page to make it work. That's the only coach I know who's never played and had great success. What John has done with his staff, having former players who have played the game at the highest level and can teach and implement a system, that goes without saying. It's awesome. And I think he'll get it done with these coaches that he hired.
Obviously, Chris Horton was coveted. As we said, the Ravens blocked him originally. Minter had different ideas. But the point is, you have a sought-after coach, somebody that more than just you wanted, Patricia. So that tells you a lot about Chris Horton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Ravens obviously thought enough of him to say, hey, we're going to hold them back to see what the next head coach wanted. And, as it were, Jesse Minter comes in. He's got his own ideas as to what he wants and who he wants. And, I suspect that, even if the Ravens head coaching search had gone on another week or so, I bet you John Harbaugh would have waited that one out. I mean, because there are just some coaches that you kind of wait and you see. And you notice they're waiting out the situation at offensive coordinator for Todd Monken, pending on what Cleveland decides to do. Now, it looks like they're going to go with Jim Schwartz, I think was the latest report. It's not confirmed yet, but that's reportedly how they're leaning. So you notice John Harbaugh is being patient. He's not saying, oh my gosh, he's in the running for the Cleveland job, so I better get somebody else. And I like that. He's being patient and he's waiting to get his guys.
Interesting stuff. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, that's smart. That is a smart CEO. That's what you do. You wait it out. You know who you want. Okay, you're playing chess. You make a move. We're gonna make a counter move to get the person we want. Very, very smart, and I agree with it.
All right. As we said, Horton, the special teams coordinator, Denard Wilson, the defensive coordinator. What's interesting about breaking news is that you never know when it's going to go down, and it looks like Brian Dable, believe it or not, will be the offensive coordinator in Tennessee, assuming he doesn't take a head coaching gig. So Wilson out of Tennessee, Patricia, Brian Dable in to Tennessee, joining Robert Saleh.
Yeah, two former New York area coaches, Saleh and Brian Dable. And, interesting because remember, the Giants reportedly wanted to draft Cam Ward last year. They had their eyes on him. And Tennessee wasn't budging. They were like, nope, we're not getting out of the number one spot. We want this kid. And that's just the way it's going to be. And now Brian Dable, coming full circle, is going to get to coach the kid that, he might have had his eyes set on until he realized he wasn't going to get him. And he went to Jackson Dart, who, by the way, is not such a bad consolation prize. Nope. I mean, Jackson Dart, if you go and you look at the stats, he actually was better than Cam Ward in a lot of statistical areas. So Jackson Dart, by no means a consolation prize.
Yeah, and Dable gets to coach two number one draft picks from that draft. Very interesting stuff, Mark.
Yeah, he got the guy who, from what we heard, that he didn't want, but he got on the dance floor for Jackson Dart and danced for him to get Jackson Dart. The Giants got him, and we find out that Jackson Dart is the guy. Cam Ward was, I guess, the guy he didn't want, but now he gets a chance to coach him. It's weird how this league works. It's odd. So we'll see what he does down there in Tennessee with him. But you know what? I'm glad that Brian got a job. I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job. So I think being in Tennessee would fit him just perfectly.
All right, we'll take our first quick break of the show. When we return, we mentioned Todd Monken. We need to get an OC in there, and we need to, unfortunately, figure out what plan B would be for the Giants OC job. We'll do that next.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
All righty, we are back alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay, as we discuss all things New York Giants on this particular squad show, and we need to talk about the offense. We all think it's going to be Todd Monken, Patricia, but again, you never know. Cleveland is still there for the taking as far as a head coaching job. We all want Monken here. Your thoughts on the latest?
Yeah, I think, again, I think John Harbaugh is waiting this one out. You notice that, the only other guy that he interviewed was Robert Prince, who I believe has a longer history as a wide receivers coach. Giant fans might remember he was the guy who, when he was with Dallas, he questioned Jalen Hyatt, I think, gave him a little bit of a hard time. So Robert Prince has really been the only other OC that I know of that has interviewed for, that OC job. I think maybe, we hear OC, but, sometimes they bring in these guys and they say, okay, look, we're interviewing you for the OC, but hey, if you don't fit the OC role, maybe we'll give you the receivers role. So it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. But, the fact that we haven't heard a whole lot of candidates coming in, certainly not like the Eagles who are looking for an OC, tells me that John Harbaugh is willing to wait out this situation in Cleveland, that he has, a pretty good idea of how this might be going. And look, once it's official, once, Cleveland decides, yes, we officially want Jim Schwartz or whoever it is, I am pretty sure that Todd Monken's going to quickly jump on board with John Harbaugh and the Giants.
Yeah, Mark, Monken has been the rumor, for lack of a better term, from the beginning. So it would be no surprise if he ended up here.
Yeah, it would be no surprise, but you got to wait it out if he gets released from Baltimore. Funny story about Robert Prince. I played high school ball against him, so I know him very, very well. Good dude, great person. I just want to throw that out there. But what do you do if you don't get Todd Monken? What do you do? I mean, the Rams got a couple of young guys out there. You want to pick from the Rams, or you want to get Kingsbury from Washington? What do you do? I honestly, I can't think of a plan B for the Giants, and that's why I'm sitting on this side now on the other side. So it's wild. And that's something you really got to think about. It's funny how, John Harbaugh has got the defensive side set. As far as his DC, that was a pretty quick decision. Knew what direction he wanted to go. But he's willing to wait out the OC part if Todd Monken is available or not. But my thing is, what do you do if you don't and can't land him? And I can't think of anybody or anything to do. Because if you're interviewing a wide receivers coach in Prince or whoever, and that's your plan B, it becomes a little scary for me.
I happen to agree, and I'm not smart enough to think of anybody that could replace him. So, Patricia, you're much smarter than both of us.
Yeah.
Give us a plan B. Throw something out there.
I'm not much smarter than both of you. I mean, if anything, Mark is the king here. So I'll always defer to Mark. That's an interesting question. I mean, Mike Kafka, I know who Mark was beating the drum for. He's going out to the Lions now in an undisclosed offensive role. I don't really know who a plan B would be, to be honest with you. You talk about, Cliff Kingsbury and some of these other offensive coordinators, maybe Davis Webb. I mean, who's the passing game coordinator out there with Denver. But the thing you have to remember is whoever that is, if it's an existing offensive coordinator, you have to give them a promotion. For a lateral move, most teams won't give their blessing for a lateral move. So that kind of falls into, the equation. But here's the thing nowadays, and I know they didn't have this back, when Mark played, you've got passing game coordinators, run game coordinators, quality control assistants, all this, all these subdivisions of main position coaches. So I don't know, maybe one of those guys, you could view it as as a promotion for them and maybe get one of those guys. But I don't know specifically who. I mean, because look, if you're a head coaching candidate now, and I'm thinking in particular of the Rams passing game coordinator, Nathan, I'm going to botch his name, so I'm not even going to try it, but I couldn't remember it yesterday on the show.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. So a guy like that, he might say, you know what, I've been getting head coaching inquiries. There's nothing out there for me now. I'm going to sit tight and wait and just stay where I'm at. Because remember, do you really want to uproot your family to move to a new city just for what could possibly be a year? And then say, hey, I've got my eyes set on a head coaching spot. I mean, it really depends on the individual, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say for Monken, let's just say he doesn't get the Cleveland job, takes the OC job with the Giants. He's going to want a head coaching job next year, like you said, Patricia. So not that I don't want Monken, but everybody's looking out for themselves. So this makes it really, really difficult. But I keep coming back, Mark, to CEO, something you said right at the top. Yeah. That's what Harbaugh is getting paid $100 million to do.
Yeah, and I would see if it came available and Monken is not looking for the head coach's job for 1 year, whatever. I look at it as I see Steve Spagnuolo's situation. Steve is in a great situation in Kansas City. He was a Giants coach, got it. He's won championships. I see Todd Monken moving. If he can come to New York, be under John Harbaugh for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Well, we got a 5-year contract, and get 2 Super Bowls or some great traction in New York, winning and being very happy in New York, just as Steve Spagnuolo is in Kansas City. Like I said before, Steve Spagnuolo, I think, doesn't want to go anywhere. He's very comfortable. Some guys want to be in that role. Todd Monken, I don't know him, but I see him as more of a Steve Spagnuolo kind of guy. Listen, I got John Harbaugh in New York. I go with John. We get great success as they did in Kansas City. I see that working out. And I think John sees that working that way as well. And we'll talk about that later on, where John had a conversation with Andy Reid, of that situation. But I see that working out. That's how I see it working if Todd can get to New York with John Harbaugh.
All right, so obviously there are other Baltimore assistants that are on their way to New York. And again, no surprise here. Harbaugh was going to pick his own guys, Patricia. But again, filling out most of the staff with those lesser guys, all coming from Baltimore.
Yeah, again, these are guys and gals, and I think there's some women in the group too, if I'm not mistaken. But these are folks who helped Harbaugh build a winning program. So it's only natural that he would want to, stick with those people. I mean, why fix what ain't broken, as they say. So I'm not surprised that this staff is shaping up to have a very heavy Baltimore flavor. If this was a staff that maybe didn't have good, success, I'd be like, what are you doing, man? You're sticking with the same guys that you didn't have success. But that hasn't been the case. So I can get on board with this, even though I'm the type of person to say, hire the best person for the job, not necessarily somebody who all your life or all your professional career. But in this case, Harbaugh, like I said, he's had success with these people. So why not?
And that's where I was going, why Stefanski's name keeps coming up? He hasn't built anything. That's how I was going, man, wait, he shouldn't be on the list. That's what I said. Wait for John Harbaugh. If Harbaugh or Tomlin come free, get one of those guys because they built it before. And I don't know why this Stefanski guy name kept coming up as a head coach. He's never really built and won anything. So that was me. But anyway, John Harbaugh, I'm still basking in the glow of him building the Giants, bringing us back to respectability. So I'm going to trust in him as well, and I'm going to believe in the staff he puts together.
If we believe in the staff he puts together, and rightfully so, that's what you get with Harbaugh. There's going to be the same with free agents, and we didn't write this down, and I'm not talking about anything specific, but if he's taking his coaches, Patricia, he's taking his players too.
Probably. I think, it's logical to assume that. I've said this many times before. When a new coach goes to another team, a lot of times it's like, a corporate. You open up a chain store or a chain restaurant, and corporate trainers come down and they help you instill the values and the policies and the procedures to kind of help those the local hires, if you will, get into the spirit of what the corporation is all about. So, yeah, it happens with every single coach. We saw it with Brian Daboll. Look at all the former Buffalo Bills that came in with Brian Daboll when he was hired. So I would fully expect that to be the case with Harbaugh, bringing up some of the Baltimore Raven players who are pending free agents, assuming that they don't re-sign with Baltimore.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
And don't forget about the scouting staff as well. Some of the scouting reports that they got in Baltimore, some of the undrafted free agents from college from last year, all that's being looked at. Just because those guys didn't get drafted by Baltimore and they didn't play in the league or they played in the UFL or whatever, those guys are being looked at as well to come compete for the job on the Giants team as well. So all that stuff comes into play. Yes, some players who are unprotected free agents or whatever, former Ravens or Ravens on the team now, they're going to be looked at as well. So they're coming, and that's just how the league works. I'm all for it because that makes the team better, and you got to turn over a lot of rocks to find, the exact person you want to be a part of your team.
And let's be honest, Baltimore's been way better than the Giants over the last decade.
Yeah.
However, so you're under my head, Mark. You're asking me which team would I have rather had over the last 10 years? I'm taking Baltimore. It's not even a question. So point being, why would you ever, and I understand relatively speaking, but why would you ever question it's the reason we brought him in here, Patricia.
Absolutely. Until he shows otherwise, this is a guy with an impressive resume, a guy who has done it consistently, and a guy who has done it, with not a whole lot of fanfare. So why would you question anything that he wants now? Now, I know a lot of people are upset. Oh, he didn't keep Carmen Priscillo.
Right.
I get it. I wanted the Giants to keep Carmen Priscillo too. But that being said, if you're bringing in a specific offensive coordinator, in this case, Todd Monken, maybe Monken's offense requires a certain type of,
offensive lineman
or a scheme for the offensive lineman that maybe doesn't fit what Priscillo does. So you've got to kind of keep an open mind on this stuff because, look, Harbaugh's going to, Harbaugh's going to make decisions that people might say, what are you doing? But until proven otherwise, trust in him, because he's got the record.
I agree. CEO, Mark, CEO.
Yeah. Baltimore had this offensive lineman. They have him now. I think he's a center.
Linderbaum?
Yeah. Oh, if you ever watch, I don't know if he's free agent.
He is.
He's coming. I'm telling you, that guy is the most agile center I've ever seen. He pulls, he calls the line stunts. This guy is legit. And I watched the whole game. I watch everything. But I watched this guy the last few years, how he plays, his tenacity, his pulling ability, him picking up line stunts, all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. So back to what Patricia said, there's a certain kind of lineman, if Todd Monken comes to the Giants, that is exactly the kind of person he's looking for to run the kind of schemes that the Giants would have to run if he came.
All right, we are halfway home on this New York Giants squad show. We'll take a break. When we come back, lots to do. No Senior Bowl for Shane and Harbaugh. Obviously, we need to fill out the staff first. We'll discuss all that and building an identity for Big Blue, a new identity for Big Blue. We'll do that next. All right, time to tell you about Game Time. The NFL season is in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game. The crowd noise, the energy, and cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium hits different. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. One of my favorite features is being able to see the view from my seat before buying, so there are no surprises. The zone deals stood out too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, you save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Get back to being there live. All right, up next is FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, amazing. And FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, just bet just $5, get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we are back. It is Patricia, it is Mark, and it is Jay. We are halfway home on this New York Giants squad show. Joe Shane, John Harbaugh skipping the Senior Bowl this week, which isn't the end of the world. Obviously, hiring an OC is more important, Patricia.
Absolutely. Get the staff together, because look, you can go down and you can scout the players in person, and that's, everybody does it. It's not a big deal, but wouldn't it make sense to kind of know who you're going to have on your staff in case you need to adjust maybe where you're going to put your focus on the players? And here's the other thing. I mean, the Senior Bowl does a great job of making film available of the practices, the drills, the game. You can look at that anytime. You can look at that on an airplane, traveling from, during college, from college to college or whatever. You can look at that anytime. So the important thing is to prioritize here. And that's what they're doing, getting the staff in place, because once you know what your staff wants, now you can go from there and say, okay, these are the types of players we want to bring in.
Go ahead, Mark.
You're right. Patricia, the Senior Bowl isn't the same as it was when I played, and I played in it. With technology now, you can watch it anytime you want. And when I played, even now, the game isn't important. It's the practice is what happens. But they're going 3 or 4 days against each other. The teams are playing each other, and they're taking the scouting staffs are taking notes, whatever. When the game starts, these coaches and the staff members, they're on the plane going home. They're gone. And now, with so much information out there and technology, the scouts and the coaches know everything about these players. They watch these players from their freshman year up until their senior year. They got so much information on these players that the game itself doesn't matter. So for Joe and John not to go to the Senior Bowl or the practice sessions, it's not important, because they have all the data of the players they want want to look at more, and even those who have not been invited to the Senior Bowl, they have all the information. So, Jay, as you mentioned, yes, it is important to get your staff together to go get these players that you want.
That being said, there are obviously benchmarks or important events this offseason. There's the combine, and then obviously the draft and free agency and all that stuff. Perhaps the Senior Bowl is not as important as those. Obviously, it's not as important as those, but we still have these important events coming up, Patricia.
Absolutely. I mean, the combine, that's where a lot of your trades happen. The trade discussions are born. I mean, the Senior Bowl, historically, in addition to, giving you a look at some of the draft prospects that are in there, that's also a good place if you maybe are looking for an assistant coach, because, it's a job. It's kind of like a secondary job fair for assistant coaches down there. So, I don't want to discount the importance of the Senior Bowl. It is an important step in the process, but the combine is where, now you have all 32 GMs guaranteed to be in the building in most cases. I think the Rams are the only ones that don't send their GM and head coach, but for the most part, you have all 32. You've got all the agents in the building. You've got, the prospects, both juniors, seniors, in the building. So that's a little bit more important in terms of the grand scheme of things, because here's where, again, you can talk about, maybe some pending contracts, and yes, tampering does go on. They don't want to admit it, but it does happen. You could talk about, to agents about re-signing guys. I mean, you could get a lot done at the combine. So yeah, it's probably more important for the Giants brass to be at that right now, given where they are with the Harbaugh era starting up here in New York, than it is at the Senior Bowl.
It's almost like they've combined the baseball winter meetings where so much gets done in a week with the workouts at a combine, and they've sort of squished the two together, Mark. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and you got to remember, the combine now is very important. The players, when they go and they don't compete, that's okay too, because now, back in the day, the combine was it. That was it. You get invited to the combine, you pretty much guarantee you're going to get drafted somewhere. Back then we had 12 rounds, but I digress. You're going to get looked at. You're going to get in front of a coach or a GM. And then over the last, 15, 20 years or so, they start having these individual combines at colleges. So now, if you don't compete in the big combine, they open up to other players who didn't get invited to the big combine to go work out at a combine at Kansas, USC. Each college have their own individual workout. So you get a chance to work out again and meet GMs, scouts from NFL teams. So it helps you get noticed to get drafted or get invited to go to camp. So you have a lot more options. The GMs mostly don't go to those off-site deals. They go to the major combine in Indy, which is cool too. But man, it's just the opportunities for these young players to get recognition if they don't get invited to the camp, invited to the combine, is great. And if Joe and John don't go to all the other combines, they're going to go to the main one. So, and I think it's great for them to do that, to go outside the big combine in Indy. It's kind of cool. But once again, the combine is where the GMs and the deals stuff are made for coaching staffs and players to get looked at. So that's the big one that really counts.
All right. So obviously the Giants will be building an identity this offseason, and we don't know, because we don't know who the free agents are going to be. We don't know who they're going to draft. Yeah. They may make trades. All that being said, when I think of John Harbaugh's identity as a football team, I'm thinking about Derrick Henry, and I'm thinking about Lamar Jackson and all these guys. So what do you think he can offer from his perspective before we get any of the players in here, Patricia, about building an identity?
Well, we hear this all the time. It's kind of cliche, but football coaches talk about smart, disciplined, tough, finish. These are all the buzzwords. And the drawback is that a lot of coaches talk a good game, but they don't know how to implement it. So, I think when you think of identities, what comes to my mind right away, Mike Vrabel. Look at what Mike Vrabel has done with the New England Patriots. I mean, that team has taken on his identity. And if you remember Mike Vrabel when he was a player, that guy was one tough hombre.
Yeah.
Okay. And his Patriots team has taken on that identity. So, John Harbaugh is a no nonsense type of guy. He's very organized. He's got his ways. We saw giant teams in the past have identities where they were sloppy. They weren't disciplined. They were all over the place. You never knew what you were going to get from week to week. I think, if they're going to take on John Harbaugh's identity, you're going to see a team that's disciplined. You're going to see a team that's organized, and a team that hopefully doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes that ends up, hurting them in the long run.
Wouldn't it be great if we had something like the 85 Bears defense, the 86 Giants, that kind of identity, which obviously only comes after winning a Super Bowl. But that being said, this is the place to do it, Mark. I mean, he would be a conquering hero.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, when you talk about identity and you talk about what this team needs is identity, yes, I think John Harbaugh brings that. We had that with the Giants, 86, 90 teams under the Parcells era. We didn't care what you did on your side of the ball with your team. We knew we were good enough, and we're going to outplay you, we're going to outthink you, we're going to out-tough you. We didn't care what we played. We'll play you in a Walmart parking lot. We didn't care. It wasn't about how we looked or whatever. We had our 3 base coverages. We're throwing a little wrinkle too on defense. We had 2 or 3 runs on offense. You knew what was coming. We're going to hit you in the mouth, and we're going to keep coming at you. That was us. John Harbaugh has those tendencies to do it. He's done it in Baltimore. We're going to run the ball. Our quarterback's going to do. We're going to be physical doing those things. On defense, yeah, we're gonna be tough up front. We're gonna be tough at the linebacker position, and we're gonna be smart defensive on the defensive backside. Can we get those players to buy in to do it? Vrabel did it. He did it perfection. He team to the Super Bowl. Sean Payton did it. Got him close enough. That's what you need. Can John Harbaugh do it? Yeah, he could do it. Just got to get the players to buy into it and get the staff and players to get it done.
I have to assume that Sean Payton, one of the reasons he took that job, Bo Nix. Mike Vrabel, one of the reasons he took that job, obviously Drake May. John Harbaugh, one of the reasons he took the job, Patricia, Jackson Dart.
Well, it sure does help when you have a quarterback, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
look at the teams around the league that don't have a quarterback who are stuck in, a perpetual cycle of going nowhere fast.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you have a good, solid young quarterback who is going to be there for you potentially for the next decade plus, I mean, those don't come along every day. So, if you have that opportunity to work with a guy who's got talent and who's on the rise, why not grab it?
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that. It's no disrespect to Tommy DeVito, but maybe John Harbaugh's not here if Tommy DeVito is the starting quarterback. I mean, these things matter.
Yeah, it matter. Of course. No disrespect to Tommy DeVito, and that's why I said 3 weeks ago, the New York Giants job was the best job available. And that was before, the Baltimore Ravens job came up. It is the best job. You got a quarterback who can play, who is the future. You got a lot of pieces in place. You're in the biggest market, TV market in the world. Why would you not want to come here? And yes, it is disrespect to Atlanta, Las Vegas, Tennessee. You want to be in New York, New Jersey. You want to be there because, as Frank Sinatra said, if you can win here, you can win anywhere. So that's why you take the job. That's why John Harbaugh took the job. Jackson Dart is the future. He sees it. The pieces are in place. Let's get the damn job done.
All right, one last break before we return for our final set of topics. And those will be interesting because we mentioned about Mike Kafka, who takes the job with Detroit. And obviously we have a Super Bowl to look forward to. We'll do all that next. All right, let's tell you about Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. Prize Picks is incredibly easy to get started. Pick 2 or more players and choose more or less on their projections. Makes watching games way more engaging, especially during the playoffs and the big game. Great way to keep playing fantasy football even after season-long leagues are finished. How about the favorite feature, early payouts, which lets you cash out if a player gets off to a hot start. I love being able to mix starts from different teams and build lineups that fit how you watch the game. The new social feed makes it fun to follow as well. Share lineups, get inspiration from other players. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, final 15 minutes of the show alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. This is the New York Giants Squad Show. Let's do it. Lessons from the Super Bowl teams. We talked about, at least off the air, Patricia, when to kick the field goal. And obviously there are coaches that just don't understand it. This new wave of going for it on every 4th down, wherever you are in the field, was really frustrating for this guy. I won't put any words in anyone's mouths, but that sucked.
I think anybody who watches the Locked On Giants podcast, you know how I feel about analytics.
Yeah.
At some point, you've got to use common sense. All right. What analytics I don't think accounts for: injuries, weather conditions. There's just certain things that you got to say, okay, you know what? The wind is whipping at 60 miles an hour, but hey, we're going to kick the field goal into the wind anyhow because analytics says we should. No, you use common sense. All right. And I think sometimes coaches are maybe a little too reliant on analytics because they invest so much money in it. And it drives me crazy. I'm old school. I remember the days when analytics weren't, what were the analytics? We weren't talking about them in sports. So that being said, yeah, analytics is one thing. Sometimes they work to your advantage, but you got to use common sense at the end of the day, because if you're not, then we can get a computer to do your job,
Yep. I think Sean Payton right now is really kicking himself in his rear, because when you got 2 defenses that play pretty close, they're pretty damn good. Points are at a premium. You better take those points. You better take them. And I'm a firm believer. I'm like you, Patricia. I'm old school. Yeah, we make adjustments in some things, right? But I think during the playoffs, any coach should take analytics and put it in the trash can until you're out. This playoffs, Super Bowls, analytics don't mean squat, because during that time of the season, people got so much information on you. You're not going to trick anybody. You're not going to come up with razzle dazzle plays. You make maybe once or twice do something you've never seen before. Then you get them. We did it with the Giants, fake punts in the playoff games. That's the only time that stuff comes out. But you better take the points when you can. And if you don't, you're going to miss a field goal and you're going to lose. You're going to get stopped on the 4th down and you're going to lose a game by 3. And you're going to be out of the playoffs. I don't know. Sometimes, and I'm shocked that Sean Payton didn't take the points. Take the points. You'll be playing in overtime and have a chance to win. But now you're out of the game, and now you're just at home thinking if it woulda, coulda, shoulda. But
it's almost like he didn't know the snow was coming. He's like the only guy on the planet that didn't know the snow was coming.
he knew. He'd take the points, but
Yeah, I mean, and that's not the first time we've seen coaches rely on analytics. I forget what game it was, but there was a game late in the season where the coach was like going for it on fourth down and not taking points. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, are you going to take the points or what? It might have been an NFC East game. I can't remember exactly, but I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? Take the points.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know how the game is going to go down the line. It's like, I get it. You're trying to be, have a strategy in mind, but sometimes you're overthinking it. And by overthinking it, you end up costing yourself.
There's no doubt about it. Let me just say this because it's in our notes and it's interesting. And I hadn't thought about it. And when Patricia suggested we discuss it, I laughed. No offense to this guy, but Ben McAdoo is going to the Super Bowl, believe it or not, Patricia, as a defensive assistant. Amazing. He got there before the Giants.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, no disrespect to Ben McAdoo. He was always good to me when he was here with the Giants. But yeah, I mean, several former Giants, if you will, head coaches, players headed to the Super Bowl. In addition to, McAdoo with the Patriots going as a defensive assistant. How wild is that?
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito is going. Corey Durden, who was a defensive lineman, had a cup of coffee with the Giants. Over with Seattle, you have Leonard Williams, Julian Love, Drew Lock. So good for all those guys, to have an opportunity to win a ring. I mean, good luck to them. I don't know who's going to win. I think the Seahawks will probably win this one. But yeah, that is kind of wild because I always remember Ben McAdoo after I think he was dismissed. He said something to the effect of, I still have dreams of hoisting a Super Bowl trophy and handing it to an owner. I think he meant as a head coach, but who knows? Maybe he has the opportunity now. If the Patriots win it, he'll get to hold the Super Bowl trophy and pass it on to Bob Kraft.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I think it's great for all the guys who were, who passed through the Giants organization to get that shot because it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed to you. No matter how you get there, as a former head coach, a special team coach, as a former Giants player who got bounced to go to another team, no matter how you got there, you got there. They hope they win. I mean, and somebody's going to win a ring, and it's an opportunity, man, that it's not guaranteed to you. It's not guaranteed. I played 13 years. I was blessed to play in 3 of them. But man, I know guys who played 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, 12 years or more, who never got a sniff. So congratulations to those guys who got there, who are there. I wish you well.
It's funny because we talked about Peyton and the turnaround with Knicks. We talked about obviously Vrabel, and we all wanted Vrabel last year. So this is exactly we're now getting what we wanted, so to speak, with regards to both Vrabel and John Harbaugh. This can be turned around. It can be turned. Peyton did it. Vrabel did it. Let's watch Harbaugh do it next year, Patricia.
Yeah, I mean, you need a little luck. You need the injury bug to get under control because that's been a problem with the Giants. All right. You need to get good players in here, not guys who you're going to overspend and carry on the roster and they're not going to have a role. So you need to be disciplined with the roster building and roster management. And, you just have to basically at the end of the day, you have to be smarter than your opponent, whether that's installing a trick play, whether that's exploiting a weakness. I mean, there were times this past year where I sat there and I'd say, why aren't the Giants exploiting this run defense, which is supposedly bad? Or, how is it that this opponent's rushing attack, which came into the game bad, they're excelling. So just little things like that. You've got to just find a way to turn those around, and who knows what the future will hold. I think, Harbaugh can get them to the playoffs next year. They need a little luck. Like I said, you can't have injuries wiping out Malik Neighbors or Cam Scatterbo or heaven forbid, a Brian Burns or a Jackson Dart. You can't have that. But if you get guys in here who are willing to buy in, who are smart, if you get everybody who's on the same page, leaving at the end of the day on the same bus, why not the Giants?
Yeah. I agree 100%. Excluding all the variables that you mentioned, gone are the days of the 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, or whatever. You can turn this around immediately. And thanks to free agency, the expansion of the practice squad rosters, putting veterans on that, you can build your roster quickly, effectively and to be competitive. And yes, barring the injuries and stuff, all that stuff, you can place an injured player. He can get injured, and you can replace him with a player from the practice squad who's a veteran who can fill that spot. So it could be done quickly. It's been done. I know we talked about Vrabel and these guys in the past. Yeah. So I'm expecting, and I'm going to put it out there right now, I'm expecting the Giants to do more than just compete. Because you got a coach now who's built a roster, who's done it before with variables or injuries and stuff like that. He's done it before. I'm looking for them to not just compete, but be a factor in the league next year for the years to come.
That being said, and I know this is unfair at this point in time, but it looks like the Giants got more better than any other team so far in that division. Does that make sense? I mean, obviously adding Harbaugh is a huge boom for them, but it seems like Philadelphia, Washington, and Dallas, not much has happened so far. And again, plenty of time to go. But that being said, it feels like the Giants have gotten more better than those other teams, Patricia.
I think they have, in that, you look at Philly, they're trying to find a new offensive coordinator. Washington's I think they found their new defensive coordinator, but, they were looking for to change up that staff a little bit. Dallas needed a new defensive coordinator. The Giants, meanwhile, they're building from scratch. They're building from the bottom up with guys and gals who are accomplished, who have done it before in Baltimore. So before we even get to the talent level, and the Giants, I've said this before, the Giants roster last year was not a 4-win team. That was a much more talented roster than what the results yielded, which is why the coaching staff was sent packing and why Joe Shane is probably still here. So that being said, I think right now you could say that the Giants have made the most strides thus far, and it's early in the offseason. I get that. We still need to go through free agency and the draft and all that stuff. But yeah, the Giants are definitely, on the right path, I think, in terms of turning it around and maybe, just maybe, challenging for the division title next year.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of bounds at all. We've seen worst to first, and I know that's what we're going to hang our hat on here. It's possible, Mark. It can be done.
Oh, it can be done. I think it will be done. I mean, the Giants have made great strides so far early in this offseason just with the coach alone. But yeah, it can be done. I think the Giants are ahead of the pack right now in the NFC East.
All right, one last one. That's Mike Kafka, who, as we mentioned, gets a job with the Lions. It's not the OC position, but it's an offensive assistant. So I guess good for Mike Kafka to get another job there, Patricia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mike Kafka's a good guy. And look, when he was promoted to interim head coach, he had a lot stacked against him. There wasn't a whole lot he could really change at that point. He was missing Malik Neighbors, Camp Scattaboo. He did what he could. Good guy, really good football mind. I used to love it when, we'd ask him a question about something technical and he would say, gosh, I wish I had my whiteboard here. And because he would start to like draw it up in the air. And then he says, I wish I'd have my whiteboard here. So, it's interesting. I don't know what position he got with the Lions. I know it's not the OC. I know some people ask me, is he, does it mean that the Giants are going to get 2 third-round comp picks? And I don't believe that will be the case. I think you have to be named a coordinator or a head coach, or in the case of a front office exec, a GM. So no, I don't think the Giants are going to get a comp pick, or 2 comp picks rather. But I am glad to see that Mike landed on his feet. I know he wanted to be a head coach this year, because the head coaching cycle or the carousel expanded with so many, big names. Who expected Stefanski and Harbaugh and all those guys to be available? Maybe Mike gets his chance next year. And I think someday he's going to be a really good head coach if he's able to build a program from the start.
Yeah. And to be fair, Mark, he was the right place, right time, but he was the catalyst to turning things around for Abdul Carter, because once Abdul Carter got benched, and Mike Kafka wasn't very descriptive about why he did it, but Abdul Carter made a huge difference late in the season after Mike Kafka became interim head coach.
Yeah, so yeah, Mike gets the credit for that, and I'm glad he did what he did. Made a huge turnaround for Abdul Carter. But yeah, Mike did enough to get an interview with the Giants as head coach, but John came along. But yeah, he gets credit for the turnaround of the Giants winning or playing the way they played for him to get a job with Detroit. So congratulations to Mike Kafka.
All right. So as we said, the Giants had 4 wins last year. Here's hoping to 8, 9, 10, 11. Regardless, just more than 4. That's all we need. All right. For Patricia and Mark, my name is Jay. Another wonderful New York Giants squad show will be with you on Thursday, same time, same place. See you then.